with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It won't let me do it from my computer.
And are you good with where everyone's? Already admitted everybody, so we go ahead and
Good afternoon. We got a big crowd in here in the classroom. All of about 5 people. And I think I got more people on the call. And I'm Dr. Vanthony McMullan. I'll be doing this session for you today on implicit bias.
you can turn around and wave.
My partner in crime is Lexi. She's helping me with the technology. So I think we should be able to do this pretty good. So you want to say anything, Lexi? Can I hear you? Would you have to come over here?
I don't know, maybe. Okay, hi, everybody. Hi, everybody on the camera. We're really excited to offer this implicit bias training series, well, DEI training series for free. So thank you, Van, for helping us out with that. It's the 3-part series. So if you guys haven't registered for the other ones, please make sure you do so. But if you have any questions or need anything, don't hesitate to post it in the chat. I'll be monitoring it from the side, and it will be recorded. But the CEUs are not available for the people not in attendance.
Well, welcome. So here's the rules of engagement I like to adopt for any time I do any training class. You can notice it says here, suspend judgment, take time to self-reflect, assume positive intent, listen for the intent of understanding. And I'm not going to read all of them, but the one that's important to me is give yourself grace, because when you talk about implicit bias or microaggressions, anything like that, all of us have biases. You'll hear me say this from time to time. If you have a brain, you have a bias. So the key is, once you know what your bias is or your biases are, key is to make sure you can mitigate them. So that's kind of why I want to set the ground rules there. Anybody have anything they want to add to the ground rules, or any comments about whether or not you can adhere to the ground rules? Anybody want to add anything else?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay. Anybody here? It's a big crowd.
There was a few other people that were supposed to be here, but they were sick and had schedule changes and things.
Okay.
So just turn in.
In other words, no pressure.
Yeah, just turn and talk to them every now and then.
All right. So what you can expect, we're going to be talking about implicit bias. We're going to kind of give a definition of it, give you some context around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Talk about some implicit types. We're not going to talk about factors that perpetuate implicit biases at this time. And then at the end, we'll talk about how to address your own biases. And also, this is going to be interactive, because this is key to learning about implicit bias in terms of interactivity. And then humor. I'm going to try to use humor. I think I'm funny, but a lot of people don't think I'm funny. So you can evaluate me on that later. Okay. Okay, good. So if you want to address this about this, you already kind of said about the scene. You just want to say anything about that? Can I hear you?
No, can you guys hear me where I'm sitting right now? Okay, so for the CEUs, I will send out the slide deck after this meeting. But you'll want to set up an account at the wmed.cloud-cme.com. And then you're going to text the activity code within 12 hours. So you can go ahead and text it right now if you wanted to. The phone number is 269-743-4779, and the code is going to be 3. Again, this is only available for attending because the code does expire within 12 hours. That is how you would get that CME.
You guys gonna get the stack as well, so you'll have.
We'll also follow up with that at the end of the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, so you're still right. But you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. Okay? So a little bit about my background. I always say my real name, but like I'm from some other place. But anyway, my name is pronounced Vanthony. It's my dad's identity name, Anthony, put a V in front. So I go by Van as well, because sometimes people call me all kind of stuff, but I'd rather be called Van is okay, but Vanthony is okay as well. So again, it's Anthony with a V in front. And so the only thing I don't respond to is you call me Van Anthony. I don't like that. Otherwise, maybe I won't correct you after a while, because it's just kind of like over and over. But Van, I'm fine with Van. In fact, a point to make about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some people don't want you to shorten their name up. Like I know a woman named Susan who likes to be called Sue. So I'm okay with. I wouldn't say call me Van. I'm not okay with it because it's a sensitivity thing for people in their name. So I'm okay with that. A lot of leadership development experience with the DEI lens. Retail, consumer goods. I spent a lot of time at Meyer, Grand Rapids, and the Learning and Development Group, and then also DEI. Consumer goods manufacturing. I spent time working at Kellogg. My last job before I came here was director of diversity and inclusion at Muskegon Community College. So I've been doing this for a while. I have a doctor of education from Cornerstone University. I currently teach adjunct classes in business communication. My current job at Bronson is diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. I think that title is going to change because when you see consultant, most people think it's someone who works from the outside. So I think they're going to change it, but that's my current title. Any questions online or for the group about my background, anything about me before we get into dive into the content? Okay. So yeah, go ahead. I kind of was voluntold a little bit for it because I was doing training and development work when I was at Meyer. And at that point, we didn't have anybody doing diversity training. So because I was doing training, I was doing the leadership development training. It was kind of natural for me to kind of get into that role. So I started doing diversity work as a result of my background in learning and development. So I've done a lot of learning and development work, but I've also done primarily DEI work as well. So I got background in learning, development, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Any other questions? Okay, so we're gonna do an exercise in the room. It's gonna be interesting because there's only 4 of you in here, but we're gonna do it anyway. It's called Reconnect. And how we gonna talk about how to do that on the.
Yeah, so they can do it, and then I'll just do the cards with them.
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, so first of all, there's 3 sets of cards. This is called We Connect. And the purple cards encourage self-reflection. The green cards are fun and light. And the blue cards are a little bit deeper. So I'll just tell you off the bat, don't worry about if you can't answer a certain question because it's not meant to stump you. It's just meant to get to know one another. So they're all spread out. And I'm gonna have to get a card so I can show it to you. I can be off camera now when I do that. You guys see the group that's 3 sets of cards with the blue purple. So here's the goal. I'll demonstrate it. So Alexi, okay, so first of all, you'll pick a card from any color. It don't have to be a certain card. They don't have to match. So again, I'm telling you, these are all the categories. So let's say you go pick a card. I pick a card. I'm gonna read what this question says. What is a fun experience that you have learned recently? I'm gonna read the question, then I choose my part. I'm gonna respond to the question. And she's gonna read her question. What is your?
Would you like to be remembered?
Then she's gonna respond to that. When she finishes, we're gonna switch. You're gonna stand up, walk around and do this, then you find another person. Raise your hand and find another person. Obviously, in a small group like this, you're not gonna take it all. I might do it a couple of times, do a couple hours. That makes sense?
Parts, I'll just come with the camera over here and,
I normally do it with the people in the room.
Okay, so for the people on here, I'm gonna read off a couple cards so you can still kind of participate without fully participating. So I'll just name a couple of the cards off and read the questions, and then you can just either unmute or put your answers in the chat. And then feel free to interact with each other in the chat if you like what someone said, like it, reply to them, whatever. It's just an introduction exercise. So let me get the cards. You may need to stand closer to here. It's harder to hear.
Okay.
Okay, so this first question is going to be, what is one crucial ingredient for true happiness? I'm not sure if you can hear me when I'm standing right here, so I'm gonna just read it again. What is one crucial ingredient for true happiness? Go ahead and put your in the chat. All right, we got authenticity, love, money. Although you're kidding, it is kind of a thing. Family, humor, stress, peace, your own mental state. Yes. I'll go ahead and read the next question. It's going to be, how well would you get along with your clone? Face over here and read it one more time. How well would you get along with your clone? I probably would not get along with them very well at all.
That's what I would.
I would probably be fighting with myself quite a bit, if I'm being honest. We could take each other in small doses. Yeah, that's actually really good. Because I think the things that we like about each other, we would really like, and the things that we didn't like, we would just really hate about each other. Your teenage daughter and you, I love that. My mom and I are pretty similar in that aspect, so I feel that. The next question I will read is, what is something you have recently discovered that you are excited about? One more time for the people in the back. What is something you have recently discovered that you are excited about? Oh, sewing, that's good. Improving business operations, painting. Oh, you can speak French? That's pretty cool.
You want perfect.
Yeah, you want to give me Cold mornings. 25-cent books. Where are you getting those at? My kids are staying at grandma's tonight. I love that. Swimming is Friday. You know, we all are excited about Friday. Working out more, a home renovation project that came way under budget. Oh, I love that. Might be the same temperature in Arizona as it is right now. Okay, I'll go ahead and read another question. If you could give one piece of advice to a large group of people, what would it be? Okay, so just make sure that when you're over
Want me
here.
to sit here?
Huh?
I can sit here.
Okay,
I won't be too loud. I can sit
okay. Whatever's easiest for you.
here.
Read the instructions completely. I'm definitely guilty of just reading the part that I need. Be curious. Remain humble. Yeah, that's good. All right, the people in the room are doing their last question, so I can go ahead and ask one more. What language would you like to master and why? Japanese for anime, sign language, Arabic, so I can talk with my in-laws. Yeah, that's pretty important. Greek, Japanese, Spanish, Hebrew, French, Dutch. Oh, wow, that's interesting about your mom not speaking Spanish.
Okay, we'll go ahead and wrap up. You guys got your last one, we'll wrap up. Carry back there if you don't mind. If you don't mind.
All right, so improve the sound quality as we continue. Van is going to sit a little closer to the microphone and we'll still try to remember to turn to talk to you people on the chat. Thank you.
For those of you on the call, like Lexi said, I'll be talking to you in the speaker. So let me know if I'm too loud, I'm yelling at you. Let Leslie know, let Lexi know, and I'll kind of adjust, but I want to be sure you guys can hear me. Okay? So let's talk about that experience in the room and also online about what was that experience like? That activity you just did. Yeah. Anybody on the line say anything?
It was fun, nice seeing all the different responses, tapping into your thoughts, very interesting to hear those answers. Variety of responses, a bit from other responses.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, anyone can use this particular app. It's called We Connect. You can get the cards yourself. It's good for any kind of training that you do. It's called We Connect. And it works obviously pretty well with big groups as well. It's about 60 cards in a deck, so it's like 20 of each for the different categories, but it works pretty well. As an activity, as an icebreaker, and also to showcase diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's called We Connect. Okay. You got any comments before we go on? All right, so here's what I like to do as well, because it's important for me to understand the makeup of the group that I have, and so we have to do this online, but I'm always interested in the makeup of the group when it comes to generations. Generations is just one aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Is not everything, but also for me, because I'm older now, and I tend to use examples that people don't remember, and so I always kind of conscious of the people in the room in terms of the makeup of the group. Okay, so for you guys on the line, I need you to raise your hand so we can get a feel. So this is not an exercise of whether or not you agree with your generation. This is basically where you were born, just to kind of see where you were born. So we're going to have the folks online do a show of hands, and you guys, you can do a show of hands as well, so we can kind of get a makeup of the group. So the first group I'm asking about is, if you were born between 1918 and 1945, please raise your hand on the call or stand up if you're in the room. And I'm guessing we might have not a lot of people in that group, because most of those folks are retired. One of the mistakes I made when I first started doing this training, I said everyone should stand up if it can stand up. I didn't mean it that way, but that's kind of how it came out, so I don't say that anymore. We have anybody on the call that was mature in that group? 19. They were born between 1918. Okay. So the next group is the baby boomers. Raise your hand, or if you're in the room, stand up if you were born between 1946 and 1964. Okay. So we got one person in the room that's a baby boomer. How about the call, Lex? Do we have anybody? Okay. So again, this is not for anyone we don't want to debate about whether or not you identify with your generations. It's about diversity and inclusion. And one of the characteristics that really drives baby boomers is they've been taught to get a job. They haven't been taught to enjoy it, or you have to get a job that you enjoy. It's like, we want you out of the house. So either you're going to get out of the house and get a job, or you're going to go to college. I mean, that's the main characteristic of a baby boomer. So the next group we want to get a feel for online and also in the room is Generation X. So if you were born between 1965 and 1980 on the call, please raise your hand. Or if you're in this room and you were born between 1965 and 1980, please stand. How's it looking on the call? Number of people. So we got a lot of folks that are Generation X, and we got one person in the room. One of the things I kind of joke about with Generation X is they're some of the hardest people to work with in the workplace. I say that jokingly, but really Generation X folks, they everything about them is prove it to them. They question things. But the reason why they question things is because they want to improve things. But if you're a baby boomer, your reaction might be just do it the way we've always done it. So that you can see there's some clashes when it comes to that. But that's a tendency for Generation X, is prove it to me. Okay, you can sit down. Okay, so the next one, if you're in the room and you were born between 1981 and 1995, please stand. Or if you're on the call and you were born between 1981 and 1985, please raise your hand. Okay. What's the call look like? A lot? What are you? Are you? Okay. That kind of figure. Really? Again, as a contrast to baby boomers, Gen Y is born, they're basically been raised with find a job that makes you happy. So some of those folks might move around a little bit more because they're not going to be in a job that they don't like. I mean, they'll move around more. But you can see some conflict issues because baby boomers like, just do the job, just find a job, don't worry about being happy. And so you can see some contrast, right? Okay, so and the last one is Gen Z. If you were born between 1996 and 2012, that doesn't apply to anybody in this room, obviously, but how's the call
Oh, we got a couple saying, whoop, whoop.
up? That sounds like some of Generation Z would say, or they would say.
The Gen Y.
Oh, right, okay. And Gen Z, as you could imagine, they're all technology reliant. I mean, that's what they've grown up on. So, but again, diversity is generations is one part of DEI, but it's an important part. And if you are a leader or a manager of your group, I would encourage you to look at this and do this, is kind of see the makeup of your group. Because the more diverse you have in terms of diversity of thought when it comes to your age group, the better. But that's just one aspect. Some people put too much stock in generations. I don't, but it's a good visual to kind of see where we are. Anybody got any questions about generations or on the call or in the room or comments? Okay. Say that again. It's just another word, another way to describe. Like you see generation, you see millennial and Y, it's the same thing, but it's called so the mature generation is also called a silent generation. So there's one and the same. Okay. So I'm going to put these up here because it's important, especially with the work I do, to make sure you guys have a context of what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. And the purpose is not for you to memorize these definitions, but to get your head around what they are, because they continue to evolve over time. And I'm going to simplify them for you. Diversity is just all the ways we're different. Simply, it's all the ways we're different. Equity is a sense of fairness. Equity is about, we're not treating people equal, we're treating them fair based on where they come from. Inclusion is about, am my input being taken seriously? And you see, one of the things I like to describe with inclusion is one thing to be at the table, but it's another thing to have a voice. I mean, as a Black man, I've been at a lot of tables, and so people can walk in the room and say, well, it's inclusive because they see me sitting there, or as a woman, you're sitting there. But if my voice is not being heard, it's not inclusive. That's why you've seen this work evolve over the years. It was diversity, that was it. Then they realized they needed more than that. So if you're just going to be diverse, but you aren't being inclusive, then you aren't doing the work. And then belonging is bringing all those three together. Belonging is kind of easier said than done. That's bringing everything together, like creating a sense of belonging, like a family. And I would say to everyone, that's harder to do than people think. In fact, a lot of people who do the work I do, they don't have belonging in their title because it's hard enough to get to the inclusive and the equity piece. Make sense? Anybody got any questions or comments on that? Again, that's just the context around what those are. You can chime in anytime too if you want. And this is kind of, you might have seen this 100 times. This is everyone, not everyone, but a lot of times people try to distinguish between equality and equity. And this is kind of an illustration of, and the equality is treating everybody the same. Equity is treating everybody from where they are. And that's kind of what this is illustrating. But there's a lot of, in fact, the work I do, most companies are focusing on equity now versus the diversity, equity, and inclusion. First of all, I don't know if you've been reading, but a lot of, especially in the South, a lot of DEI work is going away because of the political ramifications. You see it in the press right now with this political thing about DEI hires and all that. So, and here in Michigan, I mean, we got support because we got the governor supporting it, but, and also at Bronson, we have it as well, but that could go away based on whoever the leader is. I mean, we're in good shape here, but it's going away. And so a lot of organizations I even calling the diversity, equity, and inclusion. They call them equity, something that's kind of more pleasing to the ear or more less politically divisive. Okay, so this is called first impressions. Now we're going to dive into implicit bias. One part of implicit bias is first impressions. And the reason why this is important because we all make decisions a lot of times on our first impressions of people. I'm going to show you a couple of photos. I'm going to ask you to respond to your first impressions. I mean, everyone has it. You see me online, you have your first impressions of me. You guys, you walk in the room, I have impressions of you. But the challenge with that is we also tend to make not favorable decisions on people just by their first impressions. So what I'm going to show you is two photos. I'm gonna ask you what the person's occupation is, how old they are, their education level, the marital status, and the residency is what part of the world you think they're from. So this is gonna be hard for some of you, but this is what we do. We do this, and most of the time it's not favorable to people unless they look like you. Okay, so I'm sure. Okay. Yeah. So put your response in the chat when you see the first photo, and then we'll take it from there. And you guys can kind of, once you kind of have an idea, you can start kind of yelling out what you think the person's occupation is and all that. Okay. So here's the first photo. So take a look at this person, and when you feel prompted, and you can put it in the chat for those of you on the call, what do you think the person's occupation is? How old do you think this person is? Education level, marital status, and residency. What part of the world you think it's from? Now, people joke about, when I do this, a lot of people joke about him smiling. They say he must be single because he's still smiling. I haven't said that. I'm just telling you what other people said. Other people said that. But anyway, what do you think? I mean, anyone on the chat, or what are you seeing in the chat, or what are you guys thinking? Let's take his occupation. What do you think he does for a living? What do you guys think? How old do you think he is?
5, 30, 6, teacher, 29, single in college.
Education? What about education?
Master's at a minimum, graduate, college.
You think people do this? People do this all the time. Look at people and determine you can't determine, but that's what we do, right? And again, with implicit bias, a lot of times it's not favorable unless the person looks like you. What about residency? What part of the world do you think he's from? US? Okay. Asian, okay. Okay, put it up here. And some people say he's 45 when this.
She said 45.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, someone said we're also assuming gender by using he.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I learned from doing that one time in class too. The lady got upset because some people didn't know if that was a female or not, and I kind of said that, and so someone in class didn't like me saying that, so I don't even say that anymore. Let's do one more. Take a look at this woman. Same thing we did before. What do you think her occupation is? How old do you think she is? What's her education level? What's her marital status? And what's her residency? Where part of the world you think she is from? Something high up. What was the chat?
Teacher, IT, doctor.
How old do you think she is? The guys, we usually don't do this with women. I don't say anything about women's age. I don't say anything. Get in trouble real easy for that. Marital status.
People are saying married.
And what part of the world do you think she's from?
America, Middle East. These are Pakistan/India.
That's the thing. So one of the things, if you can see them, this is obviously 2017, but I've done this class a few times, and when it comes up to the last statement about Liz and Sydney with second husband, has two sons who was never met. I was doing this workshop not too long ago, and the guy said that might be because in that country, if you get a divorce, the husband gets the kids. I mean, I'm assuming that's what's the case here, but that's kind of why that's there. But I haven't done any factual checking on that, but that comes up a lot. Why would that be? Yeah.
I said my assumption. Required to stay home. Those were my assumptions.
And that's what we do. And the key to that, though, is not to make your decisions on someone based on what, because you don't know, right? And we make a lot of assumptions. That's what bias is all about. And typically they are favorable. And some of that's going to happen to you may have already happened to you, based on being a woman, a person of color, what you do for a living, all that kind of stuff. So again, now we're going to get into implicit bias. So I kind of want you to get your head around what implicit bias is. And this is the textbook definition of implicit bias. I'll let you read that for a second. And I may have already said this because I say it all the time. If you have a brain, you have a bias. I mean, that's pretty much it. And a lot of it is our life experiences, right? I mean, your life experiences are going to dictate what you feel about something based on what, how you're growing up and based on how you were raised. And again, I know I keep saying it, but to me, why this is important is because, well, biases is a shortcut to making a decision. That's what it is. So you see someone, you make a quick decision, and a lot of times it's not favorable, but that's what you go on. And some of you have experienced it yourself. Someone sees you and they're like, okay, she must be this, he must be that. The reason why it's important because people make decisions about you based on that. And you make decisions about other people based on that. So once you know what your biases are, again, they're unconscious. You don't think about them until you're faced with something. I'll use this example. It's kind of, now that I know it, it's explicit. So if it's an explicit bias, you kind of know that you have it, but at first you don't. I used to travel all the time for this job. And it's funny when I think about it now, but I always would look at the cockpit and see who's flying the plane. Every time I got on the plane, every time. Here's what I was looking for, though. I was looking for comfort. I was looking for white males to be flying the plane. Because where I was born and raised, I've never seen any people of color, any women flying the plane. So my bias was, I'm safer if I know who's flying the plane. Now, you might be asking yourself, and you might be judging me. I can tell some of you judging me what I'm saying. Because I judge myself. What I'm going to do, right? I'm not going to get off the plane if a woman's in there and a person of color is in there, right? But I would look. Because that's been my experience. I haven't seen any person of color, any women flying a plane before. And to this day, I still look. I don't know why, but I still look in there every time. It's not going to change anything. But anyway, I'm aware of it now because I have that bias. Yeah.
And I had a sentence here. And when I heard female voice, my heart started beating. And I had, as I sat there, I had to ask myself, my heart started beating. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just used to getting that place. But when I got to my hotel, I stayed in my hotel room to figure out why my heart started beating fast. And that's when I realized that in this society is general, we are socialized to be sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're socialized that way. And so me hearing the female voice, I may not have been there with one. There may be some female that got nervous. But I did. And so from that point on, I realized I got to do.
Yep.
I started getting more involved in studying women's issues, women affairs, and things like that to combat that. Because I know women are super capable. I had a mom that was just out of this world amazing. Well, that's what I kind of understood, but I locked myself in my room, so I figured that out.
And you guys can't hear on the call, but he was talking about the situation he had when he was traveling. In terms of a situation with a woman that he couldn't figure out why he was biased the way he was, and he locked himself in the room. I don't know if we recommend locking yourself in the room, but that part, I don't know. But the other part is, But then because he's trying to figure it out, right? But that's what bias is. When you have those feelings, you kind of try to, why am I feeling this way? That's the only way you're gonna mitigate it, if you kind of like, because it's gonna happen. It happens all the time. And again, I know I keep saying it, but you make decisions based on your bias. That's why it's important. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay, so we have an assessment I want you to take. It's going to be for your eyes only, and you're going to share it. But did you guys bring one, or we got them here for you guys? Well, so what? I know people on the call, if they have them. If we got,
I did email it.
okay, so if you're on the call and you got the email for the assessment, again, it's something for you to look at. You'll be sharing your observations on your assessment. You're not going to be sharing it with anybody other than how you feel about taking it, how you feel about how you scored it. But it's not going to be something that you're going to show other people. So we're going to take a few minutes. If you haven't done it, I think Lexi said she sent it to you the night before. Go ahead and do so, please. And when the room, we'll do the same.
They plan to use this at a staff meeting. Very beneficial.
Oh, this assessment? Okay. Okay, so I think we're all set with that again, and we're going to have some conversation about that later. I just want you to fill it out for now. So we're going to break you up into groups. Break out room partner A, so we're going to break them up on the break in the groups. And here we're just going to do it here in the room. Actually, you guys can do it because there's only 4 of you. You can kind of just, we'll keep you in the same group. But for this group, we're going to break them up. And once you get into your groups online, I want you to share your name and respond to this question. Who is your superhero and why? So you guys can, if you don't know each other, introduce yourself again and then answer that question.
Read them out. That's what they need to.
Okay. So Lex is going to break you guys, for those of you online, she's going to break you out into groups. And when you get broken out to your group, that's the question we want you to, each of you to answer. Tell your name, share your name, and then respond to the question, who is your superhero and why?
Hello.
So is this our group then?
I'm
Bye.
assuming.
Okay.
That's my assumption.
Yeah,
I
I
just saw
logged
the
out and-
PowerPoint. It said like say your name and then supervisor, and then all of a sudden it just went to like 4 people, and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
what?
I had
And
to
now there's
step out.
more.
I'm not sure what we're supposed to be discussing. I had to step away, and when I came back, I was in a room. So
Oh,
I'm
we
not
have to just
sure.
introduce ourselves and then tell everyone who our superhero is and why.
A superhero.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I don't know. My name is Amber. I don't know if I would call him a superhero, but in my world he is. I would say, I mean, I have a huge faith in Jesus, so I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. Well, I'm Vicky. I actually work for Catholic Charities in Kalamazoo, but I live in Arizona, so I work remotely. And my superhero would be, I have 5 children, but my youngest daughter, this probably sounds crazy, but I think she would be my superhero. She is, why is she? Because first of all, she is gay, but she's married. They have, 1 daughter. She is a Navy officer and has just put up with a lot of struggles throughout her years, but has really, fulfilled just miraculous things in her life. So to me, that says a lot, and she's my superhero.
That's
I
very
love that.
nice.
Mhm.
Well, my name is Ellen, and I I would think that I would go with my mom as my superhero. She has had a lot of struggles over the last few years. Her sight is bad, her hearing is bad, but she is a trooper. She's right in there, and she is overcoming a lot of what makes that, so hard for her. That's what I would go with.
Welcome
I think
back,
you're gonna go-
everybody.
Welcome back, everyone.
We didn't
The
get
one
through everybody.
Oh, you didn't? How many? Yeah, that's a lot of folks in it.
Well, they each had 3 to 2 people, but
I think we
people
I think
here
we
are
had
still
like a couple more. But
Yeah.
You guys want to do it now?
I mean, if
Anybody-
the 2 that didn't, if the 2 that weren't able to want to, yes.
Okay. We'll let them go ahead and do it if they want to. We only got a group of 4 in here, but there's one person who's dominating all the discussion. But if anybody wants to go and get a chance to go, when we split you up, go ahead. You can do so now.
in front of the group.
In front of the whole group, yeah. A lot of people don't want to do it in front of the whole. I was just saying earlier about this whole exercise. The reason why it's important is because if someone is your superhero that you know is still alive, you should tell them. But they may not know that you see them as your superhero, and it's important for them to know that. That makes sense? Okay, so Lexi, do we get back to slides? Okay. Anybody else had any comments about that particular exercise about superheroes? And again, some people, they do fictitious characters. Some people, it depends on how you put your perspective on what a superhero is, right? So we're getting back into that. It's okay. But that's the reason need to be here too.
Yeah, it is. Well, it looks correct. Right
We
here,
have it
so.
in we have this on. Yeah. Is it in presentation mode? We need to sign another room because the other group's coming up next. Okay, well, I'm clicking it, but it's not going. It was clicking. No, is it advanced? Because it's not advanced with them.
Oh,
Bear with us, technical difficulties. We'll be right with you. Okay, so now we're gonna do another session. This is called, gonna break you out again. And I can't remember the question offhand, but
I can pull it up.
yeah. You guys can stay in your groups and let somebody else talk this
What
time.
thoughts are coming up for you when you think about implicit bias?
So what thoughts are coming up for you when you think about implicit bias? You know, we kind of defined it. We did the first impression activity. So right now, what thoughts are coming up for you when you think about implicit bias? So talk about that in your groups, guys. I'm just joking with you, man.
Yeah, message Kyle. Say this.
Michigan Community College
Why are you here?
Association group that gets together twice a year for a conference, and we had a speaker that sounded like you, and I can't see you very well through the camera, so.
Where was it at? Where was the location?
Oh, it was either.
Can you guys hear me? I said yes? Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some of the biases. And I'm just going to feature the ones that are key, I think, in the workplace. One is confirmation bias, and one is hiring bias. Confirmation bias is big in the workplace because we tend we seek people out who have the same opinion that we have. And the reason why that's a bias is because you tend to seek out people who think like you. And so the challenge with that is to not do that, because you're not going to make the best informed decisions if you're always going to people who confirm what you think. And the other one is, and they kind of go together, the other one is hiring bias. There's a lot of things around hiring bias in the workplace. You might ask yourself, well, what difference does it make if I'm not a manager or supervisor? Well, you're impacted by it, because a lot of people you work with, they might get hired because of a bias or not get hired because of a bias. And a lot of time from HR professionals as well as managers and supervisors, people just carry these biases, and it affects the workplace, it affects your diversity. One of the things that happens a lot, you hear people from time to time say, I just hired the most qualified person. And on the surface, that sounds pretty good, right? But if you look at the makeup of the room and someone says that, they look at the room and everybody looks like them or thinks like them, then what they're really telling you is the only people who are qualified are people who look like me and think like me. So that's why it's important in the workplace, whether or not you're a supervisor, whether or not you serve on committees, whether or not you work with folks, because it's going to hurt you or not hurt you based on how people view you and how they look at the hiring process. I'm not going to read all these to you, but these are just some of the things. These are all around hiring, favoring some candidate because of what school they went to. And this is prevalent in the Michigan area, because I don't know why people get so tied up in Michigan and Michigan State. You know, hate one or love the other one. But it's funny to me, my experience has been, these people go nuts about Michigan and Michigan State. And then you ask them a question about, well, did you go to either school? They didn't go to either school. I don't understand. They get freaked out about it. And groupthink is another one. Groupthink is a big one in the workplace. Just going along to get along. You know, I'm on a committee right now, and the supervisor, she asked us to rate everyone that we had for the job, and she rated them herself first. I was watching the groupthink to see if everybody's going to rate people like she did. And you know, most good supervisors, they don't want that. They want your honest opinion. But a lot of times you go along to get along, and that doesn't help the workplace as well. And beauty bias obviously is one. And I don't know anything about that because I'm not a beauty person, but I know some people can get favored based on how they look, like Lexi. So we're gonna do a quick activity, and it's really quick. Okay, I'm sorry, got a hand raised.
Denise, did you want to unmute or post in the chat? I see Denise and Shirley both have their hands raised.
I'm not Denise or Charlie, I'm Vicky. But I did have a question. What happens if you have supervisors that are wanting to hire somebody that they know, that they went to school with or they worked with before?
Well, that's where that discussion comes in, if they're open to it. Because some people
Mhm.
who make decisions aren't necessarily open to getting feedback because they feel like they've hired the right person. And that's, we've all seen it. You've seen people hire people go, and a lot of times people, and this has been my experience sometimes that people hire people based on their potential. And so sometimes people make an exception when they hire people because they want to, again, it's going to confirm what they want. You'll see situations where people say you have to have a degree, and then they'll hire somebody without a degree because that's what they want, or someone knows the other person, or they know of them, and they like them, and that kind of thing. But I think the right questioning is asking why are we hiring this person? What makes them qualified over another person? And so ultimately, supervisors are going to make their own decisions about who they hire. But
Right,
again, confirmation bias. Supervisors need to have people around them that's going to give them that feedback.
right.
And the best part of that, the biggest part of that is being part of the hiring process. So in that example, if you're a supervisor, you want to involve your team when you're doing any hiring because they're the ones going to be working with the people anyway. So to answer your question, it's a tough thing if they want to make the decision without any input. But that's what inclusion is as well.
Right, right. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I would just say real quick is I know where I worked at before, they got away from always saying someone whether or not they're a fit or not. It's a good fit or a bad fit. And really that reflects on the culture of the organization, really. Because sometimes when people leave, they get bad mouth and like, well, they weren't a good fit. And maybe it was the culture that we had in this organization. And a good fit or a bad fit, a lot of times speaks of not being inclusive. There's an easy way to kind of balance it out by saying this person will. So it was their problem kind of thing. And also if you're a supervisor, sometimes you might look at your group and say, this person's a bad fit, not a good fit. So what are you thinking about? What does that mean? So we want to do this exercise now? It's a quick exercise? Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a quick exercise and you're gonna put up. This is the quick, small exercise on it's the little things that count. And Alexa's gonna put it on the screen for you guys online in a sec. But for those of you online, we're gonna put it on the screen. But those you guys keep your face down, I'll give you instructions. This is a time. Okay. Then just click it and move it. When I say stop, click it to them. Okay. We don't want them. Well, I guess they can still count. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you guys ready? Okay, so I'm gonna show you a paragraph. When I say go, I want you to turn it over and you're gonna count the number of the letter F's in this paragraph. The letter F. It's time. So when I say go, we're gonna put it on the screen for you guys online. And it's a paragraph. Don't use your pens or pencils. And because I see everybody's doing it already. You're gonna turn over and I'm gonna say stop. And I'm gonna ask you, how many F's are in that paragraph? You kind of looking at me kind of strange. Does that make sense to you? You've been looking at me like that the whole time. Yeah, you have. I didn't want to say that. She's like, the whole time she's been like, I'm just joking. You guys got the instructions? Okay, go. Okay, stop. Here in the room and online, how many F's did you count?
5, 4, 65.
65. What are they saying? How many guys count in the room?
Yeah, a couple sixes, a couple threes,
Mm.
2s.
The correct count is 6. Correct count is 6. So you looked at me like that. The correct count is 6. So count them again. Read it again.
Who said F? I see the one I missed.
Again, this is a quick activity on it's a little thing. Most times people miss the ofs. Because when you're thinking about the letter F, you're thinking about enunciating the letter F versus looking at the letters. So you got them now? Okay. But it's important. Does everybody online have 6? Because this could ruin people's weekend because they'll walk away going, I still don't see 6. So I want to be sure everybody's got it. There's 6 of them. Got it? Again, this is a quick exercise and this is small things that we overlook that count.
Someone said they still only see 5.
You only see 5? Can you point them out? F, feature, 1. F from film. Of is 1. Another of is 1. F in scientific. And what did I miss? And the F in of again. Did I get them all?
Feature, film, scientific, 2 ofs. Oh, they said, 3 ofs. That's why. There's 3 ofs.
Okay, everybody got it now? I don't want to ruin anybody's weekend.
Yeah, it looks like they
Got it.
Good, got it?
it.
Got it.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so this is, you might have seen the iceberg. This is a great illustration of a lot of things, but this is a great illustration of implicit bias. And you know, the biggest part of the iceberg is what you don't see. And that's why this is a great illustration, because at the bottom it says here, think of your implicit biases as the bottom of the iceberg. We may not always know that they are there, but it's important to acknowledge that they do exist. And that's what it is.
There's too many F's in this to count.
It's okay. Is Jeffrey calling? Okay.
Oh, he must be talking about, must be in
Or if you don't mind, please.
there. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna skip this one now. So let's go with the time we have left. You fill out your assessment. Let's spend some time talking about your assessment. Again, you don't have to share your results, but in general, just kind of make some observations from how you fill it out. Maybe you would fill out a little different now that you know what you know, and what you know, that kind of just have some dialogue with your team about that. Yeah, and break them out. Yeah, you're not necessarily sharing your results, but your observations about how you fill out. You still look at me like that. Hey, you got to work on.
Woman in my 50s. So I am a woman, right? Girls, you know that life is not the same for males and females and the other group. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, because
I am an immigrant, a legal immigrant. I did everything that was asked of me. I am in my 50s and I am a Latina. So I always thought I understood a lot about prejudice because the Hispanics don't consider Brazilians, Latinos, and you know, there's a big mess, right? But my two daughters call my attention that sometimes without me knowing, I use language that can be, and the big word here is perceived as biased or racist. And I was speaking to my group and I said, hey, my daughter was saying they this, they that, and we were watching the marching band. And I go, heck, I see one person and you keep saying they. What am I missing? Am I looking at the wrong place?
Yeah.
And I got schooled. But even with the education, and that's why I'm seeking so much training and learning. Every opportunity I have, I join groups because I find, first, I don't want to be the shame of my two daughters, right? Second, I don't want to offend. This word perceived as racist or biased is so hard because I've been the recipient of many comments that hurt me. And I stay quiet because whatever, right? I told to my group, a very good person. She is a good person. She helped me so much. But she told me in a very joking way, oh my God, if you just didn't speak, you would pass like one of us.
Wow.
Right? And I know that she didn't mean it. Anything bad. She actually was saying, hey, you fit in. It's just your accent, right? But I need to tell you, I try to be hyper vigilant with my language. And sometimes I have my youngest looking at me and she goes, Mom, don't say that. Or see, that's what I'm talking about. Either being biased or being perceived as biased. And I go, but I didn't mean anything. So my biggest thing is, and I answered the questionnaire, and like I said, I've been the recipient in multiple times, and from people from different races. As you know, I mentioned Hispanics not considered Brazilians, Latinos because they speak a different language. But anyway, for me, my biggest challenge is to recognize the moments that unintentionally I may hurt somebody, I may be biased or be perceived as biased or hurtful, right? Because I truly believe that this group of seeking knowledge certainly had instances where they said or they taught something that unintentionally hurt another person or were perceived as bias or racist. And that is my biggest challenge.
Well, let me say this for a second time. Let me just respond to that and tell you this. One of the things about, and we do.
One of the things that I experience.
Have some audio now.
It requires what I call deathbed honesty to deal with implicit bias. I have to, and I can use deathbed honesty to deal with when people get ready to kick the bucket. They come clean and they admit and they're aware of everything. I think when it comes to implicit bias, that we really have to look at ourselves honestly, critically, with deathbed honesty. Yes, this is one of those areas of implicit bias that I'm guilty of. Now let me live.
Yeah, you can, on the, he was saying in the room that he called it deathbed honesty, where you have to kind of be honest with people about what you're working on and what you said and what you've done, because it's important to be honest that way. You're pretty graphic, aren't you? Deathbed. Did you say deathbed? Don't give him credit. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I like to joke around. I can't use it. Deathbed. That's pretty serious, isn't it? You know, and that's one of my pet peeves. It's funny to me when people say this all the time. They'll like, you'll be talking to someone, they go, well, to be honest. So you've been lying the whole time. Right? That's when people, well, then my other favorite one is, you want to be honest. No, I want you to lie. I don't want you to be honest. But anyway, we're going to have to close up. So yeah. These are very important. I want you to kind of look at these and make sure that you take heed to these, because this is about your own biases. And again, you guys are going to get the deck, so you don't have to copy these down. But these are key. I was joking about the deathbed thing, but this is important about acknowledging your biases, because if you don't, if you suppress them, this isn't going to happen anyway. And this is the key about bias. This is why this is important. Remember that you are likely to favor people who are like you. That's why this is important. So if someone doesn't look like you, you're not going to, your bias is pretty much a negative most of the time. Be aware of your language. Actually, we had a good example there. One of the people on the call. Adopt a process of continuous improvement. Always think about how you can be better at this. Listen for understanding and clarity. And again, give yourself grace, because we all do it. We all, and that's why a lot of times when I do this work, people are like, well, this is not tough enough. You should be talking about race. You should be talking about gender. All those are important, but this is something that we all have to deal with. All right, we did good on time there. So on the call or in here, anybody have any questions or comments? Want to get you guys out here on time. Plus it's Friday. Anybody in the room, anybody on the call have any?
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good to have you guys on the call. Yeah. All right. Well, again, Alexa's gonna make sure you get the slides, so you know.
Okay, looking forward to the next 2 sessions.
Oh,
You must have did good.
I must have did good. Well, thank you guys. We'll get you the slides and we'll go from there.
Hit it again just for that.
Thank you.
Oh, and this is one more time for the see. If you want to take a screenshot of this, but you'll also get it in the deck if you want to get the credits for it. And again, it's a sensitivity. It's a 12 hours, time sensitive.
Appreciate that you spoke to the slides, but didn't just expanded the.
Okay. Are you impressed?
Yes, I am. You did.
That's good. So anyway, you guys will get the deck as well. So if you want to copy down, take a screenshot, but you'll get the deck. And I want to end with this quote here. It says, "We do not see things as they are; we see them as we are." That's a great way to end the session. Thank you guys for being attentive. Thank you guys on the call. Thank you, Lexi, for doing the driving for me. And appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Oh, and that's my contact information, but you're also going to get the deck, right, Lexi? So that's my contact information. If you want to talk further about this subject or anything else, that's my contact information. Thank you so much. Thank you.